Again, these regs were specific to concession activities and specific to airports receiving federal funding. These regs also addressed goal setting, how airports should go about setting goals on their concession RFPs, personal net worth and what the guidelines would be to determine and calculate an individual's personal net worth, also the business size standards and counting ACDBE participation specific to our car rental agencies. In 2008, the Department of Transportation issued some additional guidance. These were not new regulations, they were merely clarifications to the regs that were issued in 2005. Again, to whom does this regulation apply? It's airports that are receiving financial assistance from the FAA through their airport improvement or their AIP programs. The certification standards, personal net worth, evaluation of the PNW, rules specific to the PNW, business ownership, business control, will all be addressed by Sheena here shortly. For those of you that are interested in seeking the ACDBE certification. Specific to this RFP, as I mentioned earlier, the regs outline how we go about setting goals on our RFPs. And so through these regulations, the ACDBE goal that has been determined for the concessions program is 35%. And DFW, again, as a recipient of funds, we are required to monitor and make sure that these regulations are being complied with and enforced. One of the activities that we have going on this week is an audit by FAA, and that was the reason we're juggling meetings today. They were supposed to show up yesterday, and they showed up this morning. So we are excited to share with you that the FAA does take a great interest in making sure that recipients of their federal funds are monitoring and making sure that their regs are being complied with. Specific to this RFP, once it's issued, are good faith efforts. And basically what that means is that the prime concessionaire, or whether it's a joint venture, that those entities have made a good faith effort to reach or to meet the 35% aspirational goal that has been set. All non-certified ACDBEs as well as MWBEs must demonstrate a good faith effort to achieve the ACDBE participation of 35%. The same is applicable to ACDBEs. However, the ACDBEs, if they are certified, are able to count their participation towards the 35% goal. The certification, in terms of where do you go to get this certification, it's the North Central Texas Certification Agency. The last bullet point just reads that an ACDBE prime contractor does not lose that right to have their participation counted towards the contract goal of 35%. Joint venture guidance. This information is the clarification that was issued in 2008. As I mentioned, the guidance does not implement new regulations. It's just merely a clarification. One of the things that DFW will do is review all joint venture agreements before a lease is signed. And what we're looking for when we're reviewing these joint ventures is to make sure that the ACDBE, that their participation is reflective of their ownership and the control and management of the concession. So there is a lengthy, the joint venture agreement can be a very lengthy process. And I would encourage those of you that are interested in partnering with ACDBEs to research this a little bit if you have not done a joint venture before. meet with your attorneys, seek legal counsel, make sure that both parties are included in the drafting of the joint venture agreement, and both parties have knowledge of how that document is being drafted. Again, this week that we're going through these audits, they're interviewing both the non-ACDBE and the ACDBE partners to make sure that the ACDBE is playing a real and substantial role in the operations and management of the concession. Finally, a common question that we've received in the last couple of months, does the ACDBE program permit recipients to use local geographic preferences? And the answer to that is no. DFW cannot use local geographic preference. For purpose of this section, a local geographic preference is any requirement that gives a local ADBE preference over an ACDBE that is outside of the DFW area. So that is not permissible, and once the RFP comes out, no preference will be given to local geographic. I know I covered this fairly quickly. We do have on our website, dfwairport.com, Business Diversity, our ACDBE program book for a night that you just can't sleep. And we also have all the joint venture guidelines. We also have examples of joint venture agreements. So I would encourage you to use our website as a resource. Both myself and Don O'Bannon are available to meet with you if you have any questions specific to the joint venture agreements and what one should look like. Please feel free to call upon us. So are there any questions at this time? I don't have any gifts to present, so I won't get my feelings hurt. It's okay. I would like to introduce Sheena Morgan, Executive Director of the North Central Texas Regional Certification Agency. Thank you.
Okay, well, I'm going to breeze through my slides too because I know it's getting close to 5, and I don't want to put you all to sleep. But I'm going to talk to you about certification, primarily the important aspects for you as an ACDBE. There's a lot of documentation that you have to send in. So certification is not just you fill out an application, that's it, you send it in to us, and we send you a nice pretty certificate in the mail. It is a lengthy process that you go through because we have to verify and validate that you are who you say you are, you're doing what you say that you do, and that you're doing it well. So we take certification very seriously at the NCTRCA. And I'm going to go through these slides, these first ones, just some history and things like that about the agency so that I can get to what's really important, and that's the list of documentation. Before we can actually review your file to make sure that we can put you through that final process, you have to send in a whole host of documents that are going to support your organization, who you are, and the services that you provide. Part of the certification process also is going to be the size standards. Now, for the ACDBEs, your size standards are going to be different than that of a regular DBE, which is Disadvantaged Business Enterprise. There is a 3-year average, so we have to have your tax returns for your company, all pages and schedules. And what we do is we look at your gross sales receipts, and we average those over 3 years. And as long as you come up under $52.47 million, you're good to go. Now, there are some other standards that differ from that 3-year average. The car rental companies, they have a $69.97 million threshold. Banks and financial institutions, they have a $1 billion in assets threshold. Pay telephones, 1,500 employees, and then automobile dealers, 350 employees. Now, some of the benefits to certification, you are listed in our database. DFW Airport is one of our members. They support our organization, and again, they look for you to be certified. So they will tap into our database to make sure that you have been certified with us. Not only do you get put into the NCTRCA database, but you are also uploaded to TxDOT. TxDOT is one of the 6 agencies that is part of the Texas Unified Certification Program. In that program, when you are certified with your home state reciprocal agency, which in your case would be the NCTRCA here in Dallas and Fort Worth, you are not only certified to do business here as a DBE or an ACDBE, but you can also go to Austin, Houston, Corpus Christi, and San Antonio, and along with TxDOT, and do business as a certified DBE or ACDBE without having to go through that certification process all over again. So that's the reciprocity agreement that we have here under that federal program for the DBE certification and the ACDBE certification. Certification is just a marketing tool. You will not get a contract enclosed in that envelope when you get your certificate from us. I can guarantee you that. You still have to go out and market your